Good evening, and I must say, what a start to the new year. So, if you remember back to the start of 2024, it kicked off with a number of things, right? But one of the biggest things, at least in terms of social media and stuff, was the Cat Williams interview he did with Shannon Sharp, right? And in that, Cat Williams spoke of the underbelly of depravity involved in the music industry and Hollywood and even the comedian sphere, the comedy sphere, all that sort of stuff, right? And he was suggesting that uh, all lies will be revealed, right? And what followed on from that in 2024 was the P. Diddy thing, kind of ending then in the year with Jay-Z, that kind of thing, of the freak offs and the parties and the depravity that goes along with that. And there's a pending court case involved with P. Diddy. And that's grand for people that are headlines and celebrities and all that stuff. But it's also America, right? So how does that fit into Ireland? Not really, out of a point of interest, right? But I would say it's indicative, or it may be indicative, of what goes on across all lines of these industries, right? And some yet to be revealed, right? But fast forward then to the start of 2025, and we are, I won't say we're hit with a bombshell, because we're not, because a lot of people, probably people that are listening to this and many other people, have been aware of this stuff for a number of years now, right? And what I'm talking about is the grooming gangs, right? So these gangs, predominantly Muslim men, Pakistani Muslim men, who have one English MP, not my facts, not my words, right? He's come out recently in England and said that across a number of decades, there's been up to 250,000, quote, white girls who have been groomed and destroyed physically, right? The worst crimes imaginable. And if you read some of the instances involved in this, it's obviously disgusting stuff, right? Disgusting stuff. And people have been calling this stuff out for a while, right? Notably Tommy Robinson, whatever you think of him, but he's been pointing at the truth of this, and he's been justified in his previous comments and all that sort of stuff, right? So he was telling you the truth. He was attempting to share the truth with you, with us, right? And now you have probably the number one trending thing on X is exactly these instances, right? It's kind of umbrellaed into a whole grooming gang bubble, right? Across the whole of England. And there'd be a tendency in people to say, oh, well, look, we knew about this for years. I would caution people around the desire to be seen, to have been right, being elevated over what is right, right? It's nice to know that you were right, but it's more important for something that is right to be pointed out and highlighted, regardless of who gets the praise or the flowers or the laurels for it, right? It doesn't matter. As long as it's out there, it's open, and you have Elon Musk, for whatever perceived warts and all that he might have, whatever double agent kind of narrative you might have around him, irrelevant, right? You take the roses where they grow, and the truth can come from the mouth of Satan himself, right? All that kind of stuff. So whatever Elon proves to be, or proves himself not to be, going forward, what you're looking at now is probably one of the most influential people in the world, really, right? And especially in terms of X and the media and the followers that he has, right? People who pay attention to the stuff he talks about. And this is where it filters into all layers of society. So you have people who spend their life devoted to technology and computers and all that sort of stuff, software engineers, all them kind of things, who are very, very interested in Elon Musk for that reason, right? And they might follow him on X. And now all of a sudden they're seeing that not only were thousands and thousands, if you take the MP's words, 250,000, 250,000, quote, white girls. Those are his words, right? White girls, so British girls, were being targeted, being groomed, being raped, being trafficked, being prostituted, being just destroyed, right? Not only is he highlighting that, he's also highlighting the fact that some of the parents who went to these houses to rescue their girls who were drugged and filled with drink, right? Those people, those parents were arrested. By going, imagine that now, going to get your 13-year-old girl out of a house where there's up to 7 or 8 Pakistani men who are defiling her, right? And inebriating her. You go to try and get your girl and you get arrested for that, right? Elon Musk is pointing this stuff out. He's also pointing out the fact that there was calls for an inquiry that were shut down by politicians and people in the state, right? The whole state apparatus in England, including Keir Starmer, right? What his role in this potential cover-up or blatant cover-up, whatever way you want to look at it, the totality of his involvement in that is yet to be revealed, really. But his head looks like it's on the chopping block, figuratively, right? And that's a very positive thing. Not because of some personal vendetta or dislike of someone, but wrong is wrong and what's correct is right, right? And that's as simple as that. And so, back to Ireland. What did we see over the last couple of years? We've seen vulnerable children who are in the care of the state being exposed and being predated on by grooming gangs, right? So I have no doubt, and you hear stories from town to town, probably your local place as well, of these kebab shops, right? And you've these chippers and stuff that are open and they stay open late at night, and you have young kids who, probably lacking a bit of parental guidance and a bit of oversight, will congregate around these areas, right? So it's nearly inevitable that these sorts of things will happen, and no doubt have happened, and we know that these things have happened in this country. The scope of that is yet to be known, right? And we've also had, again, grapevine stuff, incidents of, not from the new to the parish, right? Attacking women, attacking girls, and when the guards come, the police in Ireland come, they kind of warn the parents off, or warn those involved off, of sharing information about this on social media, right? So that's enough in and of itself. There's a soft cover up, right? There's a soft cover up there. Or if you want to call a hard cover up and go, absolutely, this is total criminality, then off you go, right? But you can see the same thing starting to happen and pick up speed in Ireland. England, unfortunately for them, and just unfortunately for humanity in general, right? Or for European people in general, they're probably a couple of decades, if not a good few decades ahead of us with this. But we're catching, right? Unfortunately. And the air of desperation, legitimate desperation, right? And a little bit of hopelessness and concern and worry and all those things, and despair maybe for the future and your family, all of that, natural human tendencies, right? It's important that we look at what is positive, right? And also recognize the fact that the situation that we find ourselves in, or the situations that's been foisted upon us, and we have accepted it, right, has been decades, if not centuries. I think in Ireland's case, it has been many, many, many centuries in the making, right? The outfits these people wear changes, the ideologies get a different name, but essentially the end goal is the same, right? Is the eradication of Irish culture, the eradication of Irish people. Two things are the same, right? So without Irish people, you have no Irish culture. And without an Irish culture, can you even claim yourself to be an Irish person if you're to still be alive after seeing Irish culture vanish, right? What sort of Irish person are you, okay? But it's important to take the positives out of these things, right? Because there's silver linings in nearly everything. And it doesn't mean blowing yourself or filling yourself up with hope, or the copium, like that, as the kids say, right? Copium, to be deluded with a blinding sense of hope. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that there are silver linings to be taken from all situations, and the very fact that you're seeing these gangs the story around this being pushed to the forefront of soon to be mainstream news, right, is a positive thing. It might be decades late, and sadly, it might be a lot later than some families and some children who are probably now adults and have kids of their own might have liked. But there's an underswell of pressure now that is growing, right? And you have Elon Musk calling for, I suppose, the collapse of the English government, and for King Charles to dissolve Parliament, and for Keir Starmer to obviously lose the role that he has and probably be investigated, right? So that's all positive stuff. And I would add this to it. So recently, over the last couple of years anyway, I don't know how consistent he was on that, or he's probably been consistent in his thinking, but in explicitly stating it, I cite Donald Trump's idea here that any illegal immigrant who comes into the country and murders an American civilian should get a death penalty, right? And I would propose the same thing here. I think if you wish to be seen as a serious people, you need to be deadly serious in how you protect yourself, how you conduct yourself, and the image that you wish to portray to the world, right? It can't be a paper thin one, it must be serious. And I would suggest that any person that is coming into this country who is involved in the destruction of children's lives, or they're involved in any of these gangs, should get the death penalty too, right? And that's not calling for anything that is beyond the realm of legality. I think if countries do not have a working death penalty, it should be brought back for specific reasons, right? Because this is what else would you call a gang of men from a specific region who go to a specific country and target specifically the native children of that country to destroy them and defile them? What else would you call that other than 21st century warfare, or ancient forms of warfare in the 21st century, okay? So I see no issue with that. I believe that anybody who has been shielding or hiding these people or attempting to cover that up, I would suggest Gardaí or police forces, media, journalists, judges, barristers, solicitors, politicians. I would suggest that anybody who is involved in this should meet the severest of justice. Crimes against humanity levels of justice, genocide, complicitness, being complicit in genocide. And what better solution to that? Quick and easy. There's no need to dramatize it in any way, and other than the fact that maybe these executions could be made public or happen in public. I don't see an issue with that. If you're wishing to send the most serious of messages to people who might have similar intents, then I see no issue with broadcasting executions for people who have committed crimes against humanity and have intended to destroy the lives of specific groups of children. It's disgusting, and it has no place in these isles, and it should have no place in the minds of men, okay? And I think that the severity of the crime, the severity of the thinking, the severity of the intent should be met with an opposing severity to absolutely vanquish and neutralize that sort of thinking in these countries. And that doesn't just go for any other ethnic group, that goes for anybody involved in this, right? Again, if we want to be seen to be serious, we need to be serious. And I would also suggest one more thing, or I'll pose a question before I go. We're floated the idea, maybe two ideas, right? That to promote this story and to speak about this story and to give it any airtime, or to fan the flames of it in any way, is to be increasing the tension between different racial groups, and therefore we should minimize or downplay the story. Right. A nonsense. And you're seeing some very, very well-renowned authors, professionals, psychologists, people in the media. You're seeing these well-renowned people, right, come out and speak of such nonsense, right, that it's important that we hold values, we have certain ideas that transcend the idea of justice, and we don't give way to seeking violence in retribution for some violent act that was taken. Go away. Go away. Don't be scared, right? Violence needs to be met with a similar force, right? Of a similar intensity, if not more intense, right? And there's no issue with that. That's perfectly fine. It happens in warfare. It's no different than what's going on here. Okay, and I would suggest one other thing, or pose a question, right? Why do you think, I can anticipate one of the responses to this, and I would suggest that it's maybe more than that, but I'll give it first. Why do you think across Western countries that the whole state apparatus, right, from the media, NGOs, government, state, justice, all that stuff, why do you think they're so eager to cover up these things? And the knee-jerk response is that, well, they're afraid of Islam. Maybe so, right? But what other reasons do you think they might want to cover these things up for? How involved do you think they actually are?